Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for this special live session. I'm Itzik Amiel, and we are here with a weekly sweet series, Switch It On, where we share ideas, insights, and inspiration to helping you as a professional to switch relationships to revenue, referrals, and reputation and stand out. And you're very invited to join me. We are live right now, and yeah, we're live indeed. To remind you all, every strategy or solution we share in this episode and any other episode we have in this series, we can help you get much more out of it by advising your firm, mentor you and your colleagues, of course, even execute it for you with our done for you services. So never be shy to ask and get connected and only add value to your practice, to your organization, and even to your career. Okay, so I hope that's a deal already from the beginning. So it's absolutely practical. Today we're going to talking about selecting the right clients and specifically about how to select the right clients to grow your practice. Again, feel free if you join me right now to put your name in the chat, where you are, who you are, where you're dialing from. I would love to know who you are here with me. I can see you joining, but I want to know as well. So put your name in the chat. Let me know you're here with us so everybody can see. See, helping many law firms with their client relationship and growth strategies, and doing it for a long time already, over almost 2 decades, I witnessed an increase of business development activities, and this really as winning new clients and getting more growth out of existing relationship, which is all fair and right. See, firms invest in training program, launch new client management strategies and systems, and really reorganize in an attempt to become more client centric. And a lot of it I was also teach myself, as you know. But you know what? Many of them forget one of the most fundamental strategy to grow the practice. And I refer to becoming more strategic about client selection. You see, an old business adage states that you should fire your worst clients, the one that aren't profitable, the one that takes up too much time for too little return, the one that treats your employees poorly. And sometimes that's a smart advice. But think about it. Wouldn't it be better to know how to avoid doing business with them in the first place, right? How to select the right clients for your practice. Knowing the answer to this question will make much more easier to adjust your client base, helping the less than great fits to find a new one, maybe go to your competitors. Now, while providing a better attention and care to really your best and the right clients. Let's take your practice, for example, okay, if you allow me to do so. What percent of your most vexing problems are created by just a small handful of your clients? I dare to assume the answer is probably many, right? Now, next question. How many small clients do you have that take up time and resources that are out of proportion and are really they contribute to your bottom line? Quite a few, I'm guessing. So let me put it more positively if you want. Have you noticed that if you start with the right client and the opportunity is within your core expertise, that everything gets easier? The process of becoming a client is faster. The client is more trusting you. You collaborate well together with this client. The relationship growth naturally over time. And really often your margin are higher because you matched with client who values what you do. Correct? So now you understand why the process of selecting your clients is very important for your practice growth. And you better listen to what I'm going to share with you today. And moreover, you should do it more intentionally. And in this episode, I really want to help you out by really sharing with you the right steps and the right factors you should take in selecting your right clients. Okay? So there are actually, let me start by saying there are actually 3 factors you should consider in selecting clients. Number 1, answering the question, is that the right client? Number two, is it the right issue? And factor number three, are you working with the right person? So let's look at each of these criteria, and I'll give you some practical suggestions for how to adopt a more effective client selecting strategy in your practice. Okay? So let's start with the first factor in selecting your clients. And I said is answering the question, is it the right client? Now, before I go deeper to share, I just want to say hi to all of you joining them: David, Alexa, Mandelin, Moren, Rajes, Pasalio, Achia, Itemeni, Moji, Kar, York, Pardal, Amikulu, Bonja, Sendio, Bruno, Alexis. All of you, thank you very much. Please, please, please share who you are, where you're dialing from, so I would know as well, so I can address. And of course, if you have questions during my session, let me know. We're speaking about selecting the right client, and I'm glad you're all here with me. And I want to start with the first factor of selecting your client. And I said it is answering the question, is it the right client? So you're probably asking in your own mind, who is the right client to my practice, correct? That's a fair question, but since I do not know your specific practice, I still want to help you by sharing relevant criteria you should consider before accepting a new client. And by that, you will select the right client. Or I better say, of course, the right client. So number one, client history. You want to attract a client that has a history of building productive long-term relationship with external providers, because that's probably what you want for yourself. I have no doubt that you would prefer a client that had a healthy relationship orientation with other providers, right? Criteria number two, client did a strong leadership. Do the client company executive make firm decision and follow through? Because in my experience and all the professionals or lawyers that I mentor, we found out that highly ambitious, well-led clients is usually a pleasure to work with. And you know what? The opposite is also true. A client that is disorganized, politicized, and lacks strong leadership at the top can be really a nightmare to work with and definitely can hurt your firm growth. So I warn you for that. Next criteria, number three, client with a good reputation. This one is a quite obvious one. Your own reputation is really strongly affected by your client standing in a marketplace, the client reputation. So you definitely do not want to work and help clients that are taking unethical actions or do not obey the law. This sort of client, you do not want to walk away from them, right? You want to run away from them. I hope you get it. You don't want them in your practice. They're definitely not your right client. Number four, client with the right size. Please do not get me wrong. See, I'm not necessarily propose that you should work only with big clients. Not at all. You see, small clients can also be valuable. They can be fun to work with. They can help you or maybe your young professional to get valuable experience on the C-suite. And you might even grow together with your client, because after all, every company started small, right? But please pay attention to small client with limited growth potential. Because, this client also represent the poor use of your time. And your time is limited after all. So you don't want to waste it on the wrong people. So before I continue, I want to say again, thank you for all of you there joining me. I'm speaking here about selecting the right clients. And I'm presenting with criteria to answer the question, who is the right client? Again, if you have any question, please put it in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer to you also during the session, because after all, this session, it is for you. Okay, if you have a question, put it in the comments below, and I'll answer it gladly and give you more input. So the next criteria is number 5 is client that uses service providers like you. This criteria is actually a matter of awareness, if you want. That this specific client tend to perform your services in-house, or are they accustomed to really using external providers? Because if they are not, you better pay attention and do not be surprised that they just want to learn from you and then dump you after all. Okay? Criteria number 6, client that fits your strategic criteria. As I suggest again and again to firm I work with, you need to choose your particular strategic criteria for size, for location, for an industry, and so on, for the client you want to attract to your practice. So if you have such a criteria in your practice, the client need to fit each one of them in order to be considered the right client for your practice, correct? So for example, if a client is located in the other side of the world, and one of your criteria that you only work with clients in your own jurisdictions, it might not be a right client for your practice. Agree? So I hope this criteria really start make you think on the intentional selection of the right client to your practice. You want another one? Here's another one. Number 7, client that isn't an obstacle for other relationships. And what do I mean when I'm saying it again? When I'm talking about client that isn't an obstacle for other relationship, you need to make sure you know the answer to this question before selecting to work with this client. You do not want to select a client that prejudice other client relationship you have or prevent you from working with other important clients, correct? This is a red sign if you want, and you definitely should not select this client to work in your practice. Now, I must admit that I added this criteria after experiencing it myself with some cases of other law firm I'm consulting and mentoring. But I'm aware that it does not necessarily have to be one of your experiences. So don't get me wrong, even if you don't have this criteria, that's fine. But be aware of it when you're selecting the right client. And the last criteria I want to share with you today to select the right client, or answering the first question of today, who is the right client, is client that aligns with your values. Always check your firm core values. Now, if you do not have a list of values, make sure you find them in the next maybe getting together, maybe summer retreat you have in the firm. And if not, call me, I'll help you out. But a right client value should align with your, or at least not in a conflict with your core values. And in fact, if you think about it nowadays, you also see the opposite happening. Client demands to work with professionals that align with their own values. So be aware of it. Okay? So I hope you're enjoying it. We're speaking again about selecting the right client. Those who was asking me, if you have any question, please put it in the chat box. I'll be happy to answer it to you today, definitely today. And if not, of course, I'll follow up with you, but I definitely want to answer it today in the session. So ask it and let us know where you are dialing from. So the second factor, if you listen to me, you should consider in selecting client is the answer to the question, is it the right issue? So we answered the first question, is it the right client? But not let me answer the question, is it the right issue? The right issue you need to deal with. You might have the right company as a client, but if you're not working on the right problem for them, your relationships and your value could be gradually decreased. So you need to ask yourself, what constitutes the right issue for this specific client? And I would like to suggest you 5 criteria that you should consider to answer this question. Now, obviously, the importance will vary, depending on your practice. But that pay attention to all of them. You select which one important to your practice. I hope that's okay with you. So the first criteria is, number 1, the client has already tried to address the issue internally. If not, what is the motivation to hire someone to fix it, right? Because the client usually goes outside when it finds that it lacks the skills to successfully deal with a problem or does not have the capacity to do so internally. Then he goes outside. You can find more, by the way, if the client is in that position, by asking the client a simple question like, what efforts have you already made to address this? And then you learn if they did it internally and now went outside or not. And that maybe it's a red light for you. Second criteria to see if you're dealing with the right issue for the right client is number 2, is the issue is either causing serious pain or present a significant unfulfilled opportunity. If your engagement is not going to address a meaningful problem or a growth opportunity for your client, why would the client pay a lot of money to you? Think about it. Next criteria, the issue is complex and requires sophisticated judgment and or affect multiple functions. See, and if this is the case, it's going to really leverage your and your firm, of course, capabilities and really command a premium fee. Otherwise, the client will see your services as commodity and will not be willing to pay more than a normal price. I hope you're with me and you understand. And the whole answer to the question is that the right issue? Next criteria seems obvious, but I want to share it. Number 4, the issue is exactly the core expertise of your firm. Again, the issue is exactly the core expertise of your firm. This is one of the criteria that definitely help you to deepen the relationship with your clients and make you into a trusted advisor. Why? Because my assumption that if your client need is in your core area of expertise, you will give a superb quality work because that's your area of expertise. Otherwise, why should you handle this manner? Think about it. And the last criteria to see if you're handling the right issue is number 5, the issue is clearly owned by a decision maker. You need to deal with issues that the person you're dealing with is a decision maker who really can hire your services or is empowered by the organization to do something about the issue and solve it. Otherwise, remember this, you're not going to get very far. Okay, so if you're with me and you're listening to me, and again, if you have a question, put it in the chat. The next question we need to answer to help us select the right clients is, are you working with the right person? Remember, we dealt with the first question, is it the right client? We dealt with the second question, I give you criteria to find is it the right issue, but now are you working with the right person? I don't want to go too much in details on how to select the person because, many times you can't. But I assume that if I share with you the most common client personalities that can make your life difficult, you will know what sort of client you should avoid. Okay? So here are 3 of the most common client personalities that can make your life difficult, and I would suggest that's the wrong person to work with. Number 1, insecure executive at the firm of the company. This is usually the worst kind of clients. So be aware of this, of their tendency to micromanage things and lack trust in others. That coupled with other difficulty in acknowledging the contribution of other people, because their behavior can suddenly shift and leaving you vulnerable to really sudden hostility. And you don't want it. So be aware. Number 2, non-consistent executive. Of course, from the client side. See, certain individuals at the client side display initial enthusiasm toward an idea, only to swiftly shift their focus and abandon the dedication to it. So while you may receive your payment, the experience can be disheartening and really potentially even harmful to you and your practice. Why are you asking? Because since you will need to invest significant efforts in launching the solution with the client, and much more effort, much more from your side. And the last obvious, of course, issue will be is that they will not implement it. And the next personality executive you want to avoid is number 3, arrogant, know-it-all executive. You know what I'm talking about. I assume you have experience already in the past and you know exactly what sort of people I'm talking about. These arrogant people usually aren't very curious, and they may not think that they have anything to learn from you. You struggle to be trusted advisor to them. So don't bother to help them. Do me a favor, don't bother. There's so many other people you can help. You don't want to help. So I hope now you see the 3 personality of clients you do not want to work. So basically, if they're not falling there, maybe that's the right person that you want to work. You see, it's hard to say no to an opportunity. I know, especially if you don't feel you have enough business. But remember that. A lesson I learned myself and taught many of the firm I mentor and I consult, that every time you turn down a low potential client, you free up time and resources to invest in more attractive client, what I call right client. Do you want evidence? Check your own practice. An inability to say no is really rooted in insecurity and organizational pressure not to lose any business opportunity. But when you are strategic about saying no, it really can open up the door to much bigger and more interesting opportunities. And here's the surprising truth, my friend. Sometimes the same client you say no to will come back to you later with much more appealing and relevant project to your practice. So here's my suggestion. Work on institutionalizing your practice client selection strategy. Work on really providing a general guidelines and a practical criteria for selecting the right client that fits with your professional practice. And here are some guidelines and the steps you need to take to achieve it, okay? So number one, discuss and agree and write down to yourself your ideal right client profile and client targeting strategy. And after that, communicate internally within your firm with your colleagues. Number two, really have a clear process for client acceptance. Who really can sign off on bringing a new client on board to your practice? Or who is the one who accepting a new project from an existing client? Right? Number three, reward the right behavior and sanction the wrong behavior within your practice. So for example, one of my clients created a list of 1,000 companies they want to work with, companies that were legitimate clients or prospects. And any pitches to companies that not on that list did not count for the annual remuneration bonus they give to the partners. You see, that's how you sanction behavior. Number four, set a precedent through your actions. See, while guiding and supporting young professionals, engage them in discussions about your envisioned model of selecting the right client, the core value and culture of your organization, and the importance of why you need to say no sometimes to certain opportunities. Number five, share the risk associated with both accepting and declining. So on one hand, avoid punishing individuals in your firm when they say yes to a potentially valuable prospect, but ultimately doesn't work out due to maybe external factors behind their influence. And at the same time, similarly, refrain from penalizing them for rejecting an opportunity that did not appear promising, but will result in temporary gap. Okay, because by doing so, you could prevent the development of a risk-averse culture within your organization, within your firm. If you have any question, now it's the time to ask it. Almost at the end of my presentation today, of my sharing with you today. Hope you're enjoying it and there's a lot of content here. And if you ask the question right now, put it in the chat and I could see it in the comments below. But here's the truth. Until you're working towards defining, understanding, and speaking to who you truly deserve to be working with, your right clients, success and growth will elude you. In fact, I can tell you that in my experience suggests that you're never really done with this exercise. As your practice will evolve and you learn and you grow, this model of selecting the right client will evolve as well. But you know what? Perhaps the continual process of discovery is just as important of what you will discover. And I hope you agree about that conclusion and about those thoughts that I have here in the end. Again, I think now it's your time. If there's not a question I'm checking out, I don't see any question coming in. And I see a lot of you still with me, so thank you very much. But now it's your time to take action and implement what you learned in this session. Now, I trust you got some interesting insights on how to select the right client. Answering the question, is that the right client? Is that the right issue? Is it the right person I'm dealing with? Now, if you need my help or our help in implementing it in your practice, or if you just want to learn how to build your authority in your field and build better client relationship with your clients, this is exactly what we do for our clients. Professionals like you and me around the world, we train them, we mentor them, and even doing the work for them by implementing these strategies and others in the practice. So send me an email or private message to me to see how can I help you. Next week, we have another amazing top expert to discuss a new practical strategy to grow your practice and build better relationship, reputation, and referrals. If you want to make sure you never miss one of our weekly Switch On interview series, follow me on LinkedIn or go to the Switch Hub website. You can sign up and get my business development strategies and tips. And also, you can check and register to one of my new online courses or workshop. And let me put also the link, because last time people asked me. So here's the link to our community. So you're very welcome to join that and to be able to see all the information. And again, you can see that all the information, also the Switch membership community, and to learn more how to grow your practice and your brand. And you're very welcome again to send me any private message or email to ask any question, or even to invite me to your retreat of your firm in the summer, in the coming summer. I'll be happy to share more of this knowledge with your partners in a small group and to see how can I be of value to you and your practice. For now, I want to thank each one of you again for being here, for joining us, for being here with me on the room. Thank you very, very much for that. See everybody next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central European Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific Time. And remember, switch on and start selecting the right client to your practice. Have a wonderful one. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.